Our story begins with Varvatos, a human who's grown so powerful that the rest of humankind began calling him the Demon Lord. Many grew to see him as a monster, both fearing and respecting his overwhelming influence. As such, Varvatos feels alienated from his fellow humans. Hoping his fate will change in his next life, he decides to reincarnate 3,000 years later as an average 10-year-old child named Ard Meteor, the son of a seemingly ordinary couple from the countryside. Unfortunately, the study of magic has declined significantly since his life as Varvatos, so while his powers in this new life would be considered average in the past, his strength still overshadows everyone in this new era. But despite being a genius mage, Ard proves himself to be just as socially inept as anime fans. All the children he tries to befriend simply run away from him because he comes off as too creepy. But on one particular day, Ard comes across a young elf girl named Irina fighting a wolf in the forest. And after watching the girl slay the beast, Ard tries to strike up a conversation with her. But everything he says just seems to scare her off more and more. As such, he decides to bluntly ask her to be his friend. But she refuses and runs away right into the arms of her father, Alhide, who just so happens to be great friends with Ard's parents. Seeing this, Ard believes that Irina and him are destined to become great friends just like their parents, which leads him to try to befriend her over and over again, but is unfortunately always met with rejection. After some time passes, a large group of goblins suddenly invade the city and begin attacking. Ard's father and Alhide fend off the goblins, while Ard goes in search of Irina, who has still not yet returned from the mountains. Both men are shocked to see Ard using a flight spell, as this is considered one of the many lost skills. Meanwhile, as Irina is surrounded by goblins, she thinks back to how she was bullied and betrayed by her old friends, and how life just isn't worth it anymore. She drops her weapon to the ground and tells the goblins that they can just kill her. Right as Irina accepts her fate, Ard arrives and eliminates the goblins in a matter of seconds, with just a couple of spells. He then promises Irina that if she'll be his friend, he'll stay by her side forever, and Irina finally accepts his friendship. Several years later, a fully grown Irina surprises Ard by getting in bed with him, and suggests that they enroll in the Academy of Magic together. Once they arrive at the academy, Headmaster Gold immediately enrolls Ard and Irina, as they are the children of the three great heroes, Alhide and Ard's parents. Ard had no idea that his parents were actually legendary heroes who once slew an evil god. This draws a lot of unwanted attention to Ard, who just wants to live a simple life as a nobody. Later on in class, both Ard and Irina are bombarded by students who want to be their friends and learn from them. Suddenly, they witness a young succubus named Ginny being bullied by Araldo, the son of a noble family, who claims that Ginny is his property because she is inferior to him. Ard then steps in and demands that the girl be treated fairly, and that Araldo apologize to her. This leads to Araldo proposing a duel between them to settle the matter while boasting about his lineage. Just then, their teacher Olivia enters the room. Ard immediately recognizes her as one of his generals from his previous life, and hopes that she doesn't notice that he's actually the reincarnated Demon Lord. Intrigued by Ard, Olivia decides to oversee the duel between him and Araldo, much to Ard's displeasure, as he must now find a way to beat Araldo without Olivia noticing his true identity. During their duel, Ard realizes that Araldo has been using ordinary spells, but has given them impressive names to make himself seem greater than he is. This irritates Ard, who decides to show Araldo what truly powerful magic really looks like, leaving Araldo completely outmatched and with no choice but to surrender and apologize. Unfortunately, in his frustration, Ard had completely forgotten about Olivia, who soon asks him how he was able to cast two powerful spells at once. Flustered, Ard says that double casting is a simple thing that anyone can do, but Olivia refutes that double casting is actually a lost skill, and no one in the modern age can do it. Despite this, Olivia backs off, but claims she'll learn the truth about him soon enough. The next day, Olivia sends the class to hunt monsters in a dungeon, which leads Ard and Irina to team up with Ginny, but due to years of Araldo's bullying, Ginny suffers from a severe lack of confidence, and she feels as though she's just holding Ard and Irina back. To help boost her confidence and prove that she's not useless, Ard teaches her script magic, a lost skill that he invented in his previous life that makes casting spells faster. Ginny gets the hang of it pretty quickly, but the trio then fall through a trapdoor, putting them face to face with the dungeon's boss, a powerful Minotaur. Despite the girls being frightened by this encounter, Ard stops the Minotaur's attack with a single finger. He then uses this opportunity to teach the girls more about how script magic works. With the boss nearly dead, Ard encourages Ginny to finish him off, in hopes that this will help her gain some confidence. Ginny thinks back to how she used to hope for someone like the Demon Lord Varvatos to save her, but she realizes that she doesn't need to be saved anymore as she proceeds to clap the Minotaur's cheeks with her script magic. After defeating the Minotaur, Ginny feels pride in herself for the first time, and is happy to have made 2 new friends. After returning to the surface, Ard then tries to leave, only to be stopped by Olivia, who wants to have a nice long chat with him. But in reality, she just drags him to Headmaster Gold, who asks him to participate in an academy duel event to impress the Queen, which Gold hopes will help secure additional funding for the academy. But Ard refuses as he doesn't want to draw any more attention to himself. Later that day, a student confesses her love to Ard, which he notes has been happening multiple times a day lately. But the student is quickly scared off by a jealous Irina. At night, Ginny visits Ard alone in his room and tries to seduce him with her succubus powers. She tells him that she believes a man as wonderful as Ard deserves to have his own harem of wives, but that she at least wants to be his first. Irina arrives moments later with the intention to seduce Ard as well, but becomes angry when she sees that Ginny beat her to it. The 2 girls argue and eventually decide to duel over Ard, but he forbids them from doing so and forces them to apologize to one another. Unfortunately, Professor Jessica enters the room shortly after and convinces the girls to join the Academy's duel event in order to fight over Ard. This gets the girls fired up, who are both eager to show Ard what they're capable of. At the duel event, Ard is embarrassed by his parents and Irina's father, who happen to be the judges of the competition. As the competition begins, Ard prays that Irina and Ginny both lose, since he doesn't want to see them fight. However, both Irina and Ginny easily win their matches against other students thanks to Ard's teachings, and quickly reach the finals, where they can finally fight for Ard's heart. But before their duel begins, demon cultists appear in the audience and begin attacking the stadium. Professor Jessica then stabs Irina's father in the back, and reveals that she is actually Elzard the Dragon King, and that their plan the whole time was to kidnap Irina. Ginny tries to protect Irina despite being rivals for Ard's love, but she's injured in the process, and cannot stop Elzard from abducting her friend. Irina's father awakes in the school infirmary after being healed by Ard, and reveals that Irina was taken by Elzard. Ard reassures him that he'll rescue Irina from Elzard, and destroy any other force that would stand in his way. Meanwhile, Elzard prepares to sacrifice Irina to a monster called the Orphan of Chaos as part of a ritual to summon an evil god and destroy the world that she hates. After gearing up and promising Ginny that he'll save Irina, Ard arrives to Elzard's hideout just in time to kill the Orphan of Chaos before it can eat Irina, and continues his rampage by slaying Elzard's followers as well. Desperate, Elzard tries to turn Ard against Irina by revealing that Irina's family are actually descendants of the evil gods, but Ard doesn't care. In light of this, Elzard casts a lightning spell against Ard, who simply nullifies it with his spear and impales Elzard. However, she reverts to her true dragon form and attacks again by firing a purple laser spell towards Ard, who defends against it with his magical barrier. Ard then asks Irina to look away before summoning an apparition of Lydia, his lover in his past life, to fight by his side as he reverts back to his Varvatos form. Following this, Ard defeats Elzard with his Ultimum Zero spell and ensures that Elzard is truly dead this time. Lydia then disappears and Ard reverts to normal. As they return home, Irina is slightly frightened by Ard's overwhelming strength, but she praises him and vows to someday become strong enough to fight by his side. Sometime later, a young girl named Sylphie emerges from a dungeon after training for 3 years, only to find that the entire world has changed. A masked man informs her that time moves differently within that particular dungeon, so while she was inside, 3,000 years have gone by. He then reveals to Sylphie that her sister Lydia and the demon lord Varvatos both died long ago, but that Varvatos' soul has reincarnated into Ard Meteor. Meanwhile, at the Academy, it's revealed that a festival will soon be held that will include a stage performance, which Gold wants Ard to perform in. Sylphie arrives at the Academy moments later and confronts Ard about his reincarnation and about what happened to her sister Lydia, but Ard feigns ignorance. Meanwhile, Olivia, who knew Sylphie 3,000 years ago, is very interested in Sylphie's claims. Sylphie then challenges Ard to a duel, and when Ard is quickly and effortlessly victorious, Sylphie loses her temper and summons a powerful sword which negatively affects their classmates. This leads Irina to scold Sylphie, who begins to cry as Irina reminds her of Lydia. When they return to class, they decide that the stage performance for the festival should be about the life of Varvatos, with Ard playing Varvatos, Irina playing Lydia, and Sylphie playing the evil god. For their class project, however, they decide to host a maid cafe, with the maids in very risque outfits designed by Ginny. The other girls in class initially refuse to wear these outfits, but quickly change their minds after learning that they'll be able to serve Ard, and potentially seduce him too. Meanwhile, the masked man from earlier watches all of this unfold, and is looking forward to how Sylphie will react when she learns what really happened 3,000 years ago. On the day of the festival, Sylphie causes chaos and is sent to help out at the maid cafe instead. However, she continues to cause chaos there as well, and Ard is forced to clean up after her mess. Later, Ard comes across a tree rumored to contain an item sealed by the Great Sword King. Olivia then reveals that she's entered the Great Sword King tournament, and also entered Ard against his wishes. The tournament's prize is a replica of Valve Galgus, the sword wielded by the Great Sword King, which originally belonged to Livia. Once the tournament begins, Olivia, Irina, Ard, Sylphie, and Ginny all win their respective tournament duels and quickly become finalists. Before the final duels, however, Ginny asks Ard to compete with her in a boy and girl beauty contest. Once there, Ard surprisingly spots Iraldo at the beauty contest, who confesses that he and Ginny were friends when they were younger, but his father taught him that anyone that wasn't nobility was inferior, which led to him bullying her. As such, he plans one day to apologize to Ginny and hopes he'll be forgiven. Ard and Ginny then go on to win the beauty contest, which infuriates Irina as she also wanted to enter the contest with Ard. Once the tournament finals begin, Ard is forced to face Olivia, who tries to force him to reveal his true power, but Ard refuses and accidentally blasts Olivia far away. This leads to both of them being disqualified. Ard is disqualified for cheating by using magic, and Olivia for not making it back in time. Irina then duels Ginny and is eventually victorious after a close match. Meanwhile, the masked man is disappointed at how events have played out so far and decides to take matters into his own hands. While performing the play later that same day, Ard realizes that this stage performance is based on a battle he fought in his past life, which he won thanks to Sylphie laying magical traps on the battlefield and claiming the enemy commander's sword, Demise Argus, for herself. As the actresses and actors wave to the audience, Sylphie spots someone who looks like Lydia, but turns out to be someone else. The mysterious masked man then approaches her. The next day, a very serious Sylphie wins her final match against Irina and becomes the tournament's winner, an accomplishment which grants her the Valve Galgus sword replica. Later that night, Ard meets Sylphie, with Ginny and Irina secretly watching from afar. Sylphie, with glowing red eyes, vows to kill Ard and reveals that the replica of the sword Valve Galgus is in fact the real one, and the item sealed inside the tree is its power source. By combining the two, she is able to rebuild the completed Valve Galgus, and then proceeds to also summon her Demise Argus sword, which powers her up and changes her outfit. Sylphie then immediately attacks Ard as the masked man joyfully watches all of this unfold. It's then revealed that the masked man placed Sylphie under mind control and showed her a memory of Ard murdering Lydia. Both Irina and Ginny try and stop Sylphie, but their efforts are futile. Ard has no choice but to revert to his Varvatos form to defend against Sylphie's attacks, but when she begins to hear Lydia's voice, the mind control is broken and she calms down. Disappointed that his plan failed, the masked man takes matters into his own hands and retrieves the two swords. He then attempts to kill Ard himself, but the two swords reject him, as he is not powerful enough to wield them. So Ard uses this opportunity to end the man's life. As the fighting comes to an end, the spirit of Lydia is shown to inhabit the Demise Argus sword, and tells Sylphie that her death was not Ard's fault, and urges her to focus on living a full life rather than trying to avenge her. Before disappearing, she calls Ard an idiot, which doesn't surprise him at all. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and I hope to see you all again.